You are now entering a dangerous liberty zone where God-given natural rights are held sacred and exercised. This is your warning. Tyranny, fascism, and censorship will not be tolerated. Ideas will be exchanged freely. Rigorous debate and open discourse is encouraged. If you are weak and your beliefs are fragile, you should leave now. Prepare yourself. We are now live on the Dangerous Liberty Podcast. All right, folks, what is happening? Hey, happy Sunday, everybody. We got Jay Witt in the house. It's going to be a great, fun show. Jay, it's been forever since I've seen you.
I know, man.
No, I've been getting a bunch of DMs and comments and other things saying that you and I need to start doing a weekly show. I'm completely down for that.
We can make it. We can make that happen. We can make that happen for sure.
We'll have to figure out a day and just start doing it. It's always a lot more fun, I think, when you have somebody else to bounce ideas off of directly as opposed to waiting for the comments, and that kind of slows things down. Definitely think it makes the show more dynamic when you have guests on, or at least it is for me. I have a lot of fun with that. I want to say hi to everybody over in the comment section. I see a bunch of green hearts. I want to say hi to all of the Jay Witt folks.
Shout out to you.
Hi to Ruger Rouge. Whitney Stormy, Con, good to see you, JP Six Gunner, and many, many, many more over there. If you guys haven't said hello in the comments, make sure you do so. For both of our channels, make sure you like, subscribe. I know I offer memberships. I'm sure Jay does as well.
Absolutely.
You want to support the channel, go down in the description below and hit that link. You can support the channel that way. Also, make sure you're following us both on X. I'm continuing to do a lot more on X and kind of figuring that out.
You are. Well, you're becoming prolific over there.
I don't know if prolific's the word, but
we're there a lot. How about that? You're there a lot.
You're doing some things. We're definitely doing some things over there. I definitely want to start doing more X content specifically. And again, I'm offering subscriptions over there. So if you want to do that,
oh, nice.
We appreciate that. My goal is to get Jay Witt to 100,000 subscribers. What did I say, by February, March?
February. I'm about that. I'm about that life. I agree with that mission.
We need to get it done. So first of all, if you guys are following us and you're not following Jay Witt, go fix that. Go to Jay Witt Podcast. Make sure you go give him a follow. Again, we're going to do a lot more content together. The most important thing, Jay Witt and I haven't gotten into a bunch of, I think philosophically, politically, here, he and I are pretty much on the same page. I doubt there's that much that we disagree on. With that being said, I was having this discussion with somebody last night. They said, I can't believe you're having this person on. And they talked about their opinion on, well, you know what? I'll just say it. It was Andrea Burkhart. So by the way, we're going to have Andrea Burkhart on Tuesday.
Okay.
And she is a criminal defense lawyer. We've had her on before, went through the entire charging documents. I mean, she's just one of my favorite guests. She's brilliant. She's smart. She's honest. And honestly, that's all that matters to me. I don't care. This person was saying in the comments, I just don't want to watch it. It wasn't.
You kind of breaking up, brother.
Yep. Sorry, guys. And I'll tell you, folks, it's still snowing out here. So if you lose me, just
you got me. I'm hardwired in, buddy. I'm hardwired in.
You guys, not only be left in good hands, you're probably in better hands.
All our utilities are underground here. So wait, what is Andrea doing? Andrea's a troublemaker?
No, so
I like Andrea.
Andrea thought that this particular person in this case, which I'm not even familiar with the case, wasn't guilty. And this person thought that person was guilty. And clearly, now we've diverged off into opinion, not necessarily professional analysis, right? So,
got it.
So long story short, folks, it's good to have people on that you disagree with in many different instances, as long as they're honest. Like you can have those discussions and you can have that debate, and that like that's all that matters, is that they're an honest broker. Right. If they're not, then you're dealing with something else entirely, which is something that I think Jay Witt and I would agree with, which is a problem with the entire Candace crowd. Is the things that I find that's in common with almost every Candace cultists out there is, number one, they're morally and cognitively bankrupt. They're not using logic, and they are completely dishonest with the way they present things, the way they omit things. And it's not just Candace, it's her followers as well. But, as long as people are honest, like, you can have some good conversations. And as a matter of fact, it's good to have those conversations with people that you disagree with. So anyways,
Absolutely.
Get out there. And I think Andrea, number one, she's very honest. She's an earnest person. And I think her analysis from a legal standpoint has been brilliant. Everything that I've watched her on. And I don't care if at the end of the day, she disagrees with me or anybody else, that like this person's guilty or not guilty, so that's not what it's about. Anyways, what do you do, Jay?
Let me add into that.
Yeah.
If Andrea is classically trained as a criminal defense attorney, wouldn't you want her to be dogmatic about the facts, dogmatic about evidence, and really look at the situation from both sides of the discussion? Because if you were on the opposite side of her or sitting next to her, you'd want her to be dialed in as dialed in as possible. So that's her job. That's like that's her classical training to think like this. So yeah, she might see something differently than me. And you know what? She might actually be right. So maybe we should listen to somebody who's, again, she's in the field. It's not just some Yahoo down at the bus stop or somebody at your local Kroger that is talking like that and just giving their opinions, but rather somebody who's really involved in it. And again, you can still disagree with her. I have attorneys that I've talked to that I disagree with, but I fully understand where they're coming from. And I'm like, okay, I get you. I don't like it, but I still get you. So I think that's fair. That's very reasonable.
Yeah. And, again, you're going to get 10 attorneys, and probably if they're looking at the exact same case, they're going to have, 10 different opinions on different elements of that case. So, I mean, that's just part of it. What we're going to be talking about on Tuesday specifically is I am going to have her kind of do a rundown and an update on the Tyler Robinson case and see where we at. I know she put out a bunch of new content on that, but the main focus of Tuesday is we're going to be going through the Macron case. She has all the documents, all the lawsuit paperwork. She's going to go through and talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of that. And I think that really does give some insight. I've looked at most of that stuff. You're seeing a lot of the same things that from Candace going after TPUSA, and really, I don't even know who else at this point. Like, we don't even talk about the French Foreign Legion anymore. I guess they're off the hook. We haven't talked about Israel in a long time. Right now, the only people that are kind of on the crosshair seems to be Erica Kirk, TPUSA, Andrew Cole, that, her dreams are pushing her in one direction. So I don't even know.
I don't think we're supposed to know.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening there. Anyways, one of the big things that we're going to talk about tonight is the Minnesota, specifically the shooting happened in Minnesota. And I strung some different points of view of that video. There's probably 5 or 6 different videos of that. At the end of that, there will be a one that is slowed down. And we'll talk about not only the specifics to what happened in that instance, but I think we still have to have a much larger discussion about what's going on in Minnesota in general and what the law enforcement are up against, whether it's ICE, Border Patrol. They have several different units deployed to that area right now.
That's crazy.
And what they're up against is a very organized entity. Right. So I don't know if you guys have looked at Cam Higbee. I actually talked to him today in DMs, and we're going to get him on the show in the next couple of days. But he has infiltrated that, and there are signal chats where that the lieutenant governor is involved, and they are directing these protesters. These things are extremely organized. It is more organized than I even thought it was. Which really doesn't surprise me. But what we have is genuinely an insurgency taking place right here in the United States. So, I think Trump needs to get involved, and we need to get more federal assets up there and or the military, specifically the National Guard. And I don't know why he hasn't done it yet. I think that needs to happen.
No, I agree with you 100%. It's really wild to see. I'm looking forward to seeing and hearing what the audiences thoughts were, or are rather, on this situation, and of course what you have to share. So let's get at it.
Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna throw this video up here, folks. And again, it's a couple of different viewpoints. Look, so right now, that guy in that brown shirt, that brown jacket right there with the hat, okay, that is going to be the person that's going to end up being shot. His name is Alex Jeffrey Petty, I believe. Petty?
I thought it was Petri, but I got you. Yeah.
It's Pretti. We'll just say Pretty.
Pretty is good.
So that is the guy that's shot. Now, I also want you guys to notice right now just the mass confusion that's taking place. All of these people are blowing whistles. There's horns honking, everything else. This is not conducive to de-escalating the situation and or, I don't know. These officers are in the middle of a large crowd, and these guys are outnumbered. There's already been attacks on these people. These people are being doxxed. I could pull up 50 different social media accounts that are basically saying, hey, go kill ICE agents. So these people are in a war zone, and you have to understand that. And I think that is an important context for all of this that takes place. And we want to hear from you guys as well. And I already see a super chat up there, folks. We'll talk for a while, and we'll get to super chats as quickly as possible, as well as the live chats as well.
Just him right there.
All right, I want to back this up just a little bit. I've seen some slow motion footage of this instance right here. I do believe that this gun goes off, and I've zoomed in. I've seen some zoomed in footage, things like that. It doesn't look like the guy's finger in the trigger. And of course, this is a SIG P320. These have been known to go off uncommanded, as we say in the industry. It's been a big problem with P320s. I don't know if that's what took place here. What I am quite sure of, at some point, this gun does go off in his hand. And from what I can tell in some of the zoomed in photos, his finger is not on the trigger. So, and again, I can't be 100% conclusive on that. I can't tell what's going on. What I do know is we have mass mayhem and chaos taking place. Nobody can hear what's going on because the people are honking horns, they're blowing whistles, they're screaming at these agents. These agents, I'm sure their adrenaline is pumping. A lot happening here.
Yeah.
So let's rewind that a little bit. Gun goes off. This is from another angle. All right, so this is pretty important because what happened is, and we can't hear them because the mics are so far away. But originally, when that one agent who found the gun, that actually his shirt lifted up and the gun in his, basically was carrying it at 5 o'clock, it looked like to me, was exposed, he said, gun, gun, gun. And he went and reached for that gun and then ended up pulling out and the gun goes off. Now, the rest of the agents and all the chaos don't know what's happening. All right. They're not even aware that the gun has actually been taken. And even if the guy had been saying, I have the gun at that point, like everything happens so quick and there's so much outside noise and everything else is going on, it'd probably be hard to distinguish. But again, these agents clearly don't know where the gun is. They're asking, where's the gun? Where's the gun? And then they point over to the guy, excuse me, that took the gun and said, you got the gun? And he says, yes, I have the gun. So I just want to back this up and make sure you guys hear that and see that. Another angle. Here, we can see Pretty. Pretty is directly to the left of this camera view. There he is. He's stepping in. That's him.
Right there, I see him.
Go. What the fuck is wrong with you?
These people are immune to bear spray at this point.
They should be. Look, I'm going to point one thing out right here. As he goes up, that ICE agent or Border Patrol or DHS, I don't know which one they are. All right, those are three separate entities. Well, ultimately, Border Patrol and ICE agents fall under DHS.
Right.
So this DHS agent, whoever it is, whatever particular thing, for whatever reason, he decides that he needs to push this person back, female, and then Pretty goes up and puts his hand on this ICE agent. Right? That's assault. You're assaulting a federal officer at that point. And again, you have all these people all around these guys, and they can't look. They don't have eyes in their back of their head, and they can't tell what's going on. So you got to understand the totality of the circumstances of what's happening here. And the real problem for me is that we have these people impeding law enforcement and obstructing law enforcement, lawful law enforcement activities from the get-go. That is the problem. But again, what we do have here clear evidence that Pretty at least assaulted a federal agent.
Okay, why are they pulling him off right there? I was just wondering.
So I think at that point, the officer, again, in the midst of it, is like, hey, that guy just put his hands on me. I'm taking him in. That's what I think.
Okay.
All of this is speculation, but he did.
Yeah, for sure.
He pushed the officer back. That's assault. And at that point, I would be bringing him in.
No argument for me.
What's wrong with you? Honestly.
All right, now we're going to get to the same footage, but stabilized. So this is from that camera view. It's slowed down and stabilized. And again, the thing to remember, people, is that, you know, the officers don't have the benefit of slowing things down, analyzing every element of this. They're in it in the moment. And if you guys want to say, well, Gary seems to be on the side of the ICE officers, I am. I'm just going to tell you that generally speaking, I'm going to be on the side of law enforcement. I have some criticism of the law enforcement that I've voiced on this channel many, many times. But especially when we're dealing with something like this, and there'll be a full investigation of this internally at least. And we'll talk more about that toward the end. But let's watch this slow down somewhat.
Honestly.
You can see him reaching for the gun.
Okay.
Right there. So he sees the gun. He's trying to get it out of his holster. He pulls the gun.
There it is.
Goes off. Let me. So he gets the gun out. People, I've heard several people say that he stated gun, gun, gun. I don't know when exactly. I don't hear it in this video.
I don't hear it either.
Any of the videos that I've seen. Let's scroll forward. He gets the gun out. He goes to turn. Right about here is when that gun goes off. We see this guy has a gun pointed at him right now.
Yeah, I see it.
Toggle this forward. At that point, they've already shot him. All right, so right there, he's already been shot too. I can tell you that. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure this might, one of these two dots up here might be pieces of brass. I have seen brass in some of the other pictures. Yeah, that's press right there too.
Wow.
So there's like 8 or 9 shots. And
Yeah.
again, these guys, all they know is someone has said gun. Now we hear a gunshot. Super unfortunate situation.
That noise, good gracious.
He's reaching for the gun in his holster.
Right.
And goes off.
Wow. Those whistles are ignorant.
So that's where we're at. That we have as of now. I mean, there's a lot going on there. There's a lot to analyze and a lot to discuss. And I think besides just what's going on there, again, you got to take a step back and look at the larger picture of what's going on as far as the threats to these guys. Well, what's your thought, Jay?
So I have a problem. I have a problem with the whole protest in general. The idea and the notion behind interfering with federal officers or police officers doing his or her job, that doesn't make sense to me. That doesn't make sense. And you're not going to convince me that what we saw right here, the behavior of the mob, the behavior of the protesters does not justify, but what else should you expect when you create that kind of chaos? When you read through some of the things that Cam Higbee shared and what we've read elsewhere, these people want nothing. They don't want civil discourse. They don't want to do the right thing. Because I've even proposed, hey, if you're so invested in getting these people out of jail, go ahead and let them get arrested and use your money to pool together, get lawyers to go ahead and fight for them in court. You're not going to do it on the side of the road, but y'all keep trying to do it and things keep going south. I don't think that, again, what do you honestly expect to happen in this regard? I mean, this is mass chaos. This is like herding cats. Like, what do you expect to happen? So I hate it because somebody has passed away, but you put yourself in a position that was, somebody said, this is an unavoidable circumstance of this situation. There's no good reason. You're not going to convince me a good reason to go do what we just saw right there. It just isn't going to happen.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of people saying there's other videos out there. It's hard to see what's going on, but a lot of guys are saying that he was reaching for the gun in the holster as well, even though the gun had already been removed. He was reaching back for it. I don't know.
See, it's hard to I'm 9 steps backwards because I'm like, you shouldn't be there in the first place interfering with them.
I agree.
You should not. Like, I don't understand what is clicked in the minds of these people to say, oh, this person right here, this federal agent is not a valid federal agent. Therefore, I can go push them. I can go yell in their face. I can go track. I mean, I've seen videos of them, somebody in Chicago rammed into a ICE vehicle.
Yeah.
And then they immediately said to the ICE vehicle, I mean, she's clearly at fault. And everybody in the crowd is saying the ICE agents hit her. Like, what are you talking about? But what is clicked off in your brains to say that this is the right kind of behavior? That's crazy work. And I don't think that I hate to see that somebody's passed away.
I agree.
I don't want, just like I didn't want to see Renee Good pass away. But why are you putting yourself in this position? Nobody's answering that question. Help me with that, and then I'll go protest with you. I'll go get the T-shirt. I'll go around yelling, say her name, say his name. Explain to me why they were there in the first place.
Well, their argument, instead of the devil's advocate, I'm going to play the left's advocate.
The dummy's advocate.
Which,
sorry.
There's a minor distinction there. Their argument is that they're protesting. and which I completely disagree with, and it sounds like you do as well. There's a big difference between protesting and actively interfering and obstructing law enforcement, and by the way, completely violently. So and we've seen that time and time again. It's not like they're not being violent. They're getting water bottles, they're getting things thrown at them. We see vehicles hitting them. We see them trying to, while they're trying to get things done and handle criminals and take criminals out of this country, we have them blocking people with vehicles, which, by the way, again, is a real threat. If I'm trying to maneuver on foot and these other vehicles, maybe you're just blocking that's your intent. But again, in the totality of the circumstances and what I'm seeing, when yesterday I got hit in the head with a water bottle, and we see people threatening, saying, hey, you should kill ICE, you should run them over.
That's crazy work.
Shoot them. As an agent out there, and I see these vehicles trying to block my path and trying to obstruct my ability to move freely, I feel like that's a threat. I got a family to go home to. And so, you got to take all that into account and be objective to some extent there. And I think everybody's going to pick a side.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's not what I think should all be able to agree on is that's not protesting.
That's not protesting.
That is way past the First Amendment.
Yeah. So let's put this in a different scenario. Your favorite football team is in the middle of a great game, and somebody decides to protest in the middle of the game and tackles your quarterback and injures him.
Yeah.
You wouldn't say, oh, they were just protesting that, whatever. No, you would be outraged. Whether you had a lot of money on the game, you had seats at the 50-yard, they're on the way to the Super Bowl, you wouldn't be okay with that. And that's light years less important than what we're talking about. And hear me, I was the guy that said, look, once ICE secures you, you should have a one-way ticket to wherever you're going from that moment. You touch ground in Minneapolis, the next ground you touch is in Guadalajara. Okay. So I'm okay with them actually going to court and going through the process and whatever like that to get them properly taken care of and get out of here. But what we're seeing right here isn't protesting. That's not protest. That is actively interfering. And you never hear anybody ever saying, okay, is this not weird that the only people crashing out over this are people who are in the country legally and not the people who are potentially the ones that they're going to be removing? Like, that whole people group isn't there doing that. It's other people groups that are crashing out for them. Does that not cause you to be like, wait, hold on. Wait, are we
mainly white liberals?
Yeah. And sad to say, there's some highly melanated liberals too that are doing it as well. But like, why is it that there are no Hispanics out there crashing out? Why are they not out here? Oh, okay, never mind. Never mind. I'm sorry, I got you now.
There may be some and all that, but the point is valid. It's mainly a bunch of white liberals out there that are they don't care about the Constitution. They don't care about the security of this country. They don't care about the security of this border. This whole section, this doctrine within their ideology of these open borders is all about control, being able to get people in en masse and then ultimately turn those into voters, whether it's through some sort of change in law, change of status, or what we've seen in the past is voter fraud. We know that immigrants have been in our elections. There's plenty of proof of that. It's still hard to prove. And that's what I've said many times. Like, the problem with voter fraud is extremely hard to prove. It's easy to do, but it's hard to prove, because if you're not given any sort of ID, like, how do I know who you are? It doesn't even make sense. Like, the only reason that anybody would say we don't need voter ID in this country is because you want to commit voter fraud. You need that to win.
No, I agree with you 100%. And I'm not by any means saying that the Latino community is all people that are criminals. I saw a comment in there. Oh, by no means am I saying that. They are working. You're 100% correct. Just like the highly melanated community out there working as well. And there are good white folk that are out there working as well. Ain't nobody got time for doing this dumb stuff.
And by the way, it's not just a Latino issue. Like, we have the other day I showed a video from it was in my Chase Hughes interview, which, by the way, folks who haven't watched that, make sure you go watch that Chase Hughes interview. The best piece of content I've put out in probably 5 years. It's an amazing interview, and I think you'll find it highly educational. I showed as a video clip to show the unrest that has been happening here in the United States is this clip at the border during 2024 where it's nothing but Africans. It's literally nothing but Africans. And I'm talking thousands of them that are coming into this country. And it's not just them. And it's not just Latinos. We have people coming from Somalia. We have people coming from Haiti. We have people coming from all kinds of Arabs all over the world, like the Middle East. Folks, we are being flooded. And I don't even think people, as whatever how bad I think it was, I think it was much worse than any of us realize during the Biden administration. The amount of people that came in here undocumented, unvetted, we have no idea who they are, where they went. And again, a lot of these people came in, they were never put through any sort of processing whatsoever.
Correct.
So I don't know.
Let me also propose something, and I'm sure somebody's mentioned it. Is it not odd that the only place that we're seeing this protest, this ICE protest, is in Minneapolis, which just so happened about a month ago, been exposed to be one of the havens of fraud and the havens of just shenanigans and hijinks. All of a sudden, this place is a powder keg of ICE riots, not in Chicago, not in LA, not anywhere else. They also are doing ICE raids. But right here, it just seems so odd that nowhere else is that going on.
I think there are some other not really riots.
Right.
Some of the same operations are taking place, but it definitely has been the worst. Number one, we had Good, she was shot, and now this person, unfortunately. And the place is a powder keg. And the other issue that we have here, number one, we know that there is coordination taking place from the state level. We see that the lieutenant governor is on that signal chat. I'm going to go through
crazy
that.
Work.
I just saw that a couple hours ago. I'm going to go through that. We'll probably talk about that tomorrow. I don't know. I actually have Jeanette Garibian going to be coming on tomorrow. She's a psychotherapist. We'll be talking about the psychology behind Candace Owens and her viewers, her fans, her supporters. But I do want to get to that signal chat because that is very important to see how well coordinated that is and what's going on with that. But the point is we have the state level, we have the governor inciting violence. Do you remember?
That's wild.
When we had January 6th, the only thing that President Trump said was, I want you to protest. I want you to protest peacefully. He said that multiple times. He's tweeted it. He said it. But yet he was still charged or attempted to, people were saying that he was inciting violence. Now we have Governor Walz going out there and said, I want you to, forgot what he said exactly, but make a mess or something along those lines. Make trouble. That's what he said. I want you to go make trouble. So that is inciting violence. When you have what President Trump says, that can be construed as inciting violence, but you have him saying, I want you to go make good trouble or something along those lines. Regardless, we have all the leaders in Minnesota, all the Democrat leaders, they are part of this. And these are just the things that we hear them saying on camera. God only knows what they're saying off camera within their own little echo chambers. So, I mean, we got a real problem, and we literally have an insurgency taking place here in the United States, and the law and order is not being respected. Our Constitution is not being respected. And these are laws in the books, folks.
Absolutely.
This is what it takes. If we can't be a lawless society, and this is where I go back to when people start talking about, well, you know, not all illegal immigrants are bad. Okay, fine. But we can't, there's no way for us to tell between the good ones and the bad ones. And we can't just say, you know what, you or I don't know, whatever's going on with you, we're not going to kick you out of the country, but we are going to kick you out of the country. When we really can't tell anyone's heart, we can't tell really what their background is. We can't tell what they've been doing well and what they haven't been doing well. We don't know if they're terrorists. We don't know who else they're affiliated with. Most of these people, we're never going to find out if they have criminal backgrounds in their country of origin. Like, the only fair thing to do, because we're supposed to follow the law, is kick them all out. Like, there's no other option in my mind.
Let me ask you this question, though, because, Gary, I like what you said, but, Gary, you really missed the point. A good illegal alien or a bad illegal alien, they're all illegal aliens. Like, let's just stop playing that game. I don't know if maybe you are here doing great things, and you got into the country an illegal way. You are an illegal alien.
You broke the
Or
law.
maybe in this country and you're doing nefariousness and you're doing terrible, terrible things. You are still an illegal alien. You already have committed the crime of breaking in.
Yeah.
Now, whether or not you break into somebody's house and order their house, you do their bills for them, you cut their grass, you make sure their house is painted, you're still a criminal in their crib. Like, stop it. Or you break in the house and you just ransack it. You're still a criminal. Like, stop playing. That's what we need to stop doing. We need to stop. I think we've gotten into this semantics game that has just caused us to lose all semblance of sanity, where we're over here arguing about things that are very strictly clear. If I walk into Gary's house without permission and I've gotten in there wrong, I'm illegally a visitor, illegally a guest, whatever you want to call it, but Gary did not invite me. He's uninvited guest into his house. Stop playing. So why are we acting like not Gary's going to buy my groceries, Gary's taking care of my car note, my kids' college tuition? No, you wouldn't do this anywhere else.
Gary's going to be doing is moving your body out of my house and finding a hole.
And I look, my hands are sweating thinking about breaking into your house. Okay, I'm a little nervous. So why are we doing this though? Why are we pretending like we don't have sense? Now there are some people who don't have sense.
Yeah.
Let's let their brains are smooth. We're going to invite them to the front of the church. They're going to get, because they need that special seat. But the vast majority of you do understand, like, voter laws. You do understand that, hey, if we just unilaterally just made voter IDs mandatory, we would fix a whole bunch of these problems. You know that. Like, I know that. And you have a driver's license, like I got a driver's license. You're not worried about it. You know that would fix a lot of the problems. So I don't know how they've tricked us into arguing about semantics and arguing about foolishness when in actuality, we know the answer. This is not a question that we don't know the answer to.
Yeah. And, the other thing too, that a lot of people are saying is like, oh, well, there's people over here that came in here illegally, but they've been doing, they've been a good upstanding citizen outside of that. Well,
we're nuancing.
We are, but I also want to put this in perspective for people, because it's not just what they're doing now, it's what they're going to do in the future. And one of the things that we've seen multiple times is we've seen illegal aliens that have been drinking and driving and killed somebody. We have illegal aliens that end up assaulting, killing, murdering. We have illegal aliens breaking and entering. We have illegal aliens that are doing armed robberies. All of these horrendous things that, and many of them up to that point, we're probably just these great immigrants that the left would vouch for time and time again and would say, hey, you know what, you can stay at my house, or whatever they would do. I don't know but the point is like, you don't know what they're going to do. But what I do know is that prevention is key. And chances are most people that are willing to completely disregard our laws of this land, disregard our border security, come into here illegally. The other part of that is they're kind of everything they do going forward, they're continuing to break the law, because they're going to have to start making money. So now you're working undocumented. That's illegal. Or you get a fake social security card, which a lot of them do. That's illegal. Now you're committing fraud. So like, there is no pathway to being a good illegal citizen. There just isn't. I don't care how good inside your heart you are. And if you would give the shirt off your back to every other person on the planet, fact is you broke our laws. You're continuing to break our laws, and there's no way around it. And we can try to church this up any way that we want to, but we are in the midst of, our country has been invaded. We got at least, look, there's probably somewhere around 30 million illegal immigrants in this country at a minimum. I've heard estimates as high as 100 million. And if that was true, I wouldn't be surprised at all. But the fact is we have a whole bunch of people living here illegally. And the only way to do this is to treat them equally and get them out. I don't care how long they've been here. I don't care how long they've established their lives. Like, you knew the game when you came in. You knew the rules, and you tried to sidestep the rules. And the problem here is that not only do they not have any sort of respect for our laws, Democrats don't have any respect for our laws. They want to make it to where we have open borders for all the reasons that you and I outlined earlier.
Yep.
And because they can't, because we have a process of changing the laws, and you have to go through we actually have to do this in a democratic way, and it's not going to work in this country. They say, okay, well, we can't do it legitimately, so we're just going to ignore those laws completely and act like they don't exist. And they have zero respect for our Constitution and our laws in this country, period.
Yeah, and there's no way you're going to make that. You're going to square that peg. If you break the law to get in, how are you going to convince me that you're a law-abiding citizen moving forward? It's just not. Just stop. And now, do we maybe need to fix the system to allow people to get into the country? We could probably have that discussion.
Sure.
I don't know all the ins and outs and how people are become natural citizens and visas and all that kind of stuff. I don't know all the ins and outs, but I do know this. If I break into Gary's house, I'm gonna have a problem. Now, maybe I call Gary and say, Gary, I would like to come over. And he says, fine. Or I text Gary and say, hey, and he said, let me ask my wife and go through the process. Sure, Jason, bring your family on over, hang out. Those are like the visa and the extended stay and natural citizen scenarios. If I just break into Gary's house, I'm going to have a problem anywhere else. And the problem is, and I think the disconnect is most people under.
But Jason, what if you broke into my house and you didn't plan on doing anything illegal once you were there, and you were besides breaking into my house, you were just a really nice guy, and you want to just come in and maybe wash the dishes for me and then leave?
But I broke into the house. Like, that's the problem. You're forgetting that part. I broke into your house. Now, if I knocked on the door and said, hey, you know what? I have this overwhelming desire to wash cars. I'm trying to start here you go. I'm starting a car wash business. I have no clients yet. I want to wash your car for free. I knock on the door and I do it. And you say, hey, man, that was great. I'll take some pictures. I'll post it on my social, and maybe you break me off something. That's great. Yeah. Now, I don't know how much of a great guy I am if I just go and steal your car out of your driveway, take it down to the clubhouse, and I'm going to wash it. I'm going to clean it. I'm going to detail it. You're going to be like, well, wait, it doesn't matter how good a job I did.
Yeah.
I stole your car. Stop. Be for real, people. Be for real. We know this. And the thing is, too many people have been trying to soft pedal this. And funny thing is, I was watching some body cam today. And every one of the body cam footage, the person who was getting pulled over was wanting to talk to the cop about, one was drunk, one was speeding and ran away when he stopped him. The other one had cars parked on the street and refused to move them. And the HOA asked them, the police to come get them. All of them, instead of doing what the police officer said, move the cars, stop, give me license, all that kind of stuff. They all did the wrong thing and then immediately said, well, you didn't talk to me. You said it in the wrong tone, as if that fixed the fact that, ma'am, you're drunk. You're 3 sheets in the wind. You are drunk. And there's no way around that. How he talked to you is irrelevant, ma'am. He said, move the car off the street. You didn't do it. He gave you 8 opportunities. You didn't do it. And now you're in the back of the car and your car is going to car jail. Stop it. We're smarter than this, people. I really think we've embraced a form of insanity to allow us to be, just petulant children. Just be like kids the whole time.
This goes back to something that we talked about. I think you and I talked about on the podcast regarding Candace as well. This goes back to relativism, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh,
the idea that there is no right or wrong and that everything is relative. This is something that has been preached since the 50s, 60s at least, here in the United States, and it is a mind virus that has completely rotted people's brains.
Correct.
There is no right or wrong, and everything is within a spectrum. Mm-hmm. I was having an argument. A guy today was like, he was talking about contracts with Candace's contract specifically with TPUSA, and he said, well, Charlie was killed, so that contract is no longer valid. I'm like, what are you talking about? You don't make.
Where do you get that from?
Person. And he's like, no, well, I think it should be valid. Well, what you think that doesn't make any sense. Like,
that's why they have contracts.
He's like, well, Charlie was TPUSA. He was the main. I'm like, look, I have a business where I don't know. I guess you can kind of say that I'm the main driver behind the business. Not to say that my wife can do a shit ton. She does. She does a lot. She makes a lot of things happen. Couldn't do this without her. But the point is like, I have instructors that have contracts with us and I have other contracts with different companies and things like that we sell items for, all these things. Well, if I died, you still have a contract with the company. And they can't just say, well, really, it was with Gary. Like, unless that's stipulated somewhere in the contract, you can put those types of stipulations in the contract.
For sure. For sure.
But again, it's like, well, this is how I think it should be. So it is. And you're going to sit there and argue some illogical nonsense because you think this is how this should be. And that's where we are on the left, is they think this is how things should be. I want to pull up one comment real quick, and I want to address it. I got a question for you about immigration specifically. Autumn Fragrance 6326. Since when does an adult American citizen carrying a concealed firearm with a permit warrant the death penalty? Well, it doesn't warrant the death penalty. And you're never going to find anybody that, look, I carry a gun 24/7, almost period. Always have a gun on me. I think everybody should be carrying. I think we would be a much better society. And we as Americans are supposed to be independent and self-reliant. We shouldn't rely on law enforcement, and law enforcement are not going to be the one they need you. And by the way, your protection and your family's protection is your responsibility, not law enforcement. And we are constantly being told that we should rely more and more on the government, which gives the government more and more control. But the point of this here is that's not what we're talking about. What we have is a guy that, number one, went up and assaulted a federal officer. We have to understand the environment in which they're in. And I do want to say this. I think if this was an isolated event and it wasn't in the midst of what we have going on and what the law enforcement are dealing with, I would have a much different view of what took place. And by the way, I'm extremely hard on law enforcement in most instances. Like, I think too many law enforcement officers do violate our constitutional rights. And I think that is something that's systemically within their tactics and procedures that I have issues with. That being said, I love law enforcement. We train law enforcement. I think there's some problems there, and I'm very critical of some of those issues. That being said, when you're in the situation that they're in, and you have the unfortunate circumstances of the gun that guy brought, it appears that it went off uncommanded. And when you're in the midst of all that, and then the guy ends up getting shot, he shouldn't have been there. He shouldn't have assaulted the law enforcement officer. He shouldn't have been actively obstructing their operations when he's out in the street and he's blowing whistles and filming and doing all the things that they're doing. With in mind, these law enforcement officers getting death threats daily. They're getting assaulted daily. I have a completely different view of what took place, and I think this was justified. If it wasn't with those circumstances in mind, I would have a completely different view. That's what I think. I think this is a really unfortunate circumstance that was created by the obstructors. They're not protesters, the rioters, whatever you want to call them, the law enforcement assaulters. That's what's going on. What's your thoughts on that?
No, I agree with you 100%. We're here in Georgia. We are a concealed carry state, and people get pulled over all the time. People have interactions, good and bad, with the police all the time with guns on them. Mm-hmm. You do not hear this happening. Do you know? I don't mind you putting that back up there real quick. Yeah. And because I disagree with them. The problem is, no, it's not that you're a Second Amendment carrying person, is that you're being a complete and total butthole. Everything, but go back and watch everything before then and tell me, could I get away with that?
Yeah.
If we need, would you see, what would you expect to be the ramifications if you saw me doing that, Jason? But let me also ask you this question. If the person that they were, like Renee Good, the person that they were trying to secure was one that SA children, would you be okay with me interfering with ICE trying to grab and take up the guy that was SAing children in your community? So I think if we really stop, before we get to this shenanigans about the death penalty, I'm sorry, that's just a bad take. Think about what got you there. What got them here? That man, nobody told that man to bring that gun there. And I'm going to go on a limb. I bet you there are other people at that protest that have weapons.
And here's what they are, by the way. There's lots of video of guys carrying around AR-15s that I literally watched one yesterday. He's like, I've never owned an AR-15 before, but I own one now. And I think the Second Amendment is for everybody, the left, the right, everybody else. I guarantee you 6 months ago, that guy was like, AR-15s are the weapons of death, destruction, and military style weapon that shouldn't be accessed by Americans. So, you know, the point here is that if they were protesting legally, that wouldn't have happened. There's nothing wrong with protesting peacefully, making sure that you're not obstructing officers, and this crazy chaos wouldn't happen. Because here's the real issue here is, like, if you disagree with the law, then start a political movement to change the law. Until then, sure, you can protest peacefully, but when you are getting in the way of law enforcement doing their job and making it extremely dangerous, we're going to have these types of events. Folks, if this continues, this is only going to get worse. It's going to escalate, which is exactly what the left wants. And the crazy thing is the leftists are bringing their kids to these protests. They're willing to sacrifice their kids so that they can have a martyr, and they can put their kids on a poster and say the federal government is evil or whatever else. ICE is evil. Immigration enforcement is evil. Like, I would never do that. And I would never go and get in the way of law enforcement, no matter how much, unless it was some law enforcement in my house, like beating my wife or something. Like, you know, it just doesn't make sense. And I don't know what these people expect. But the problem is we have a bunch of people on the right falling for this nonsense. And, you know, I don't know what to say about it. One thing I did want to ask you real quick, Jason, you were talking about visas, immigration, things like that. What is your thought? What should the criteria be? You said we probably could make our immigration laws better. What should the criteria be for letting people into the greatest country on earth?
Birthright citizenship needs to be reevaluated.
I agree with that.
That should be number one. Reevaluate that one, whole cloth. Start from zero, clean slate of paper. We got to reevaluate this.
Now, do you mean specifically? Here's the problem that I have with birthright citizenship. You should not get birthright citizenship, or you should be excluded from birthright citizenship if your parents are here illegally. If what got you here was because of illegal activity, that's what enabled your birthright. Citizenship, that should be gone. You know, I think that would help out a lot of what we're seeing here.
Yeah, and I think a return to basic civics in education. We don't fully understand we don't understand how good we have it. And I know there's going to be some people who got in the fields, but I guarantee you're not going anywhere else to go. You right here in United States talking all your trash. You're not going to go somewhere else and do it. Prove me wrong. So
when people are getting their citizenship, they have to take a test to become a citizen. And that test has quite a bit of information and questions regarding the civil sciences and basically how our country is set up, how the Constitution works, how the judiciary works, how our voting system works. And those are questions. I guarantee you probably 80% of American citizens.
Americans can't. Right. That's a bad look.
And that's a problem. And if they understood that, we wouldn't be having some of these discussions. We no longer, just like when we were talking to the left and they intentionally omit facts, they're intentionally omitting really important portions of what should be basic education in this, and it's strategic and it's well thought out and it's working. People don't understand how our systems work. They don't understand how our justice system works. They don't understand how our government works.
Right.
And by the way, they could look, I have problems with the way that our government works or doesn't work, and I'm sure you do too. If you understand those things, you'd be more prepared and more educated on how to fix them or potentially fix them, or run for office and be able to fix those things, or start a political movement to be able to fix those things. But when you just say, no, we're not worried about the law, we're just going to do everything we can to keep illegal citizens here, regardless of what criminal history or whatever else that they have with them. And this is the other argument that I've heard is like, we have, I've heard people say, well, they were going after this one criminal, but they came across like 10 other illegal immigrants that were, perfectly peaceful, and they don't have a criminal record here in the United States, and they took them too. And it's like some sort of, and it goes back to the discussion you and I had earlier, like you came here illegally.
But you're illegal,
ICE,
right?
Immigration and Customs Enforcement aren't going to be like, oh, well, you don't have any warrants out for you, so we'll let you stay because looks like you're a good person. No, you have broken our country's law.
The law.
You came in here, and you're breaking the law every single day. By the way, there's no other way to live in the United States illegally and not continue to break the law every single day through employment and everything else. And look, I have a real problem with. We have a lot of employers that have benefited off of illegal immigration. I think they should be held accountable too. They should be prosecuted if you're doing that.
Let me finish. So I think we should. No, we need to. That was a great point. We need to teach civics. We need to do away with birthright citizenship or reevaluate it. It needs to be. It needs
specifically
we need to start over again.
Change on birthright citizenship.
If you come into the country illegally, you can't just have a kid and be able to stay. If you're just in the country on vacation, you have a kid, now all of a sudden the kid's American. No, I'm sorry that you go back to your country. But then also, I do think we need to do away with the sanctuary city foolishness. I don't know how that's gotten this far. Like that makes no sense. Like we literally set up a city that is going to break federal law. That doesn't make any sense. No. That would probably be my 3 things that we need to reevaluate, consider, think about, whatever. But go ahead.
I think that every politician that is obstructing ICE or the federal government in any way should be charged with obstruction. I mean, that's what they should be charged with. If you're not going to, every single one of these politicians, they are taking an oath of office where they swear to protect and defend the Constitution. And if they're violating that oath and they're obstructing officers from doing their job, because this is the other part of this, the way this should be working is you have a very small contingency of ICE agents, and they go work with the local PD or the local sheriff's department and say, hey, look, we're looking for this guy. We need your help. So number one, the local PD guys should be going in there, getting those, bringing them to jail because they know the area.
Right.
They don't have that big X on their backs. They can bring them into jail. And by the way, this is how it works in most cities. ICE is all over.
Cities, right.
ICE is all over the United States right now, taking up illegal immigrants. They're not just in Minnesota. But this is how it's working. So there's no drama. There's no protest. There's no one getting shot because you have state and local law enforcement that are working with ICE that make this safe. And or if ICE is going after a more dangerous criminal, again, we should have a perimeter set up by local law enforcement so that they can do their jobs safely. It keeps the citizens safe. It keeps the illegal immigrants safe. And it keeps the law enforcement safe. That's how it should work. And if they're not doing that, number one, these politicians should be held accountable.
And I think we should also ask the question, somebody might have mentioned it while you were showing the videos earlier. You don't see any law enforcement there. Yeah. Like there's no law enforcement at all. It's the ICE agents trying to do their job and the protesters. There's no police. There's no state troopers. There's nobody else. It's just ICE and the populace. And that's going to be, that is a recipe for disaster.
Yep. I completely agree. Let's go through some super chats real quick.
Absolutely, man.
Checking these out. Charlene, thank you for coming, a new YouTube member.
Welcome to you.
There
you go, Willie Doc.
You're one of your people.
Absolutely. Thank you, Willie Doc.
Right wing nut, go to protest with a firearm, fight the authorities. Bad plan, a lot of bad decisions. Walton Frey told these people to resist. They got him filled in. Yeah, look, the problem, whether we're talking about Preddy or we're talking about Renee Good, they came to a lot of different forks in the road along this journey. And they take a long way every single time. Their own volition, and they put themselves in a position to where law enforcement felt threatened. And I don't think that law enforcement should take unnecessary risk and not go home to their kids, their families, their wives, their brothers, their sisters, their mothers, their fathers, and just because you want to act a fool. Like that, you shouldn't expect them. They're putting their lives on the line to keep you safe and to protect us and to enforce these laws, which again allows us to have a civil society.
Right.
And you shouldn't expect them to take extreme risks in dealing with what they're dealing with. I mean, it's insanity.
I'm with you, man.
Did you happen to see the text threat O'Keefe got? I did. I know about it. I didn't get a chance to, folks. So we got in late last night or late the night before. All day yesterday, I was prepping for today. This morning, I got up and was plowing snow for, I don't know, a couple hours and dealing with all that. So I'm way behind the power curve in some of the stories out there. But I did see it. I'm aware that he was getting death threats. These folks have gone past the bounds of the constitutionally protected right to peacefully assemble. It's tragic but avoidable. Don't obstruct. Couldn't agree more. What I love about our viewers, like there's some
absolutely
common sense folks out there. Obstructing federal officers with his hands on him, had a loaded gun without ID and without a permit. Also, a gun discharge that caused chaos and shots were fired. I don't know whether or not he had a permit or not. Look, I'll just tell you right now, folks. I don't believe that any American should have to have a permit to carry a gun. I'll also tell you that I think that, and I'm going to step on some people's toes, and hopefully you can withstand some disagreement here. If you are a criminal and you've served your time and they said, you know what, you are good enough to get out of prison, I think your constitutional rights should be restored. Now, if it said you are not the type of person that should be out in society, so we're not going to give you constitutional rights, whether it's voting rights or that's Second Amendment rights, then they should still be in prison. Not one or the other. But that's my take on that. I think people should have their voting rights restored once they've served their time, and their firearms rights as well. You have a God-given right to protect yourself and to protect your family. That's my take on it.
Let me say that if the reason you were in jail, the reason you're a felon, was not a gun-related felony,
or violent,
violent felony, I 100% stand by you, because I do think it's adorable that you don't have the right to vote, you don't have the right to own a gun, but you better still pay them taxes. So I do think that that's kind of weird that we do pick and choose, your obligation as a citizen after you've gotten out of jail. Which, by the way, I've never been in jail. Say again.
You get all the cons with none of the pros. It's like, okay,
right, absolutely. So, like,
that you can come out here and pay the federal government and state and local government money. You're good enough to do that, but you're not good enough to participate in society.
This might be a hot take. Also, somebody just said in the comment, persons who are the R grapists, in or out of prison, should never legally have a gun. I agree with you, because they should never be back out in public.
That's
hot take. Rapists should never. They've given up all of their ability to be a part of civil society, and so I agree with you. They should never own a weapon, because they're always going to be in jail.
And that's the problem that we have in our society is again, this is a leftist issue, is we have violent criminals that are in and out of jail time and time and time and time again. And that's a real problem.
Absolutely.
And if they knew most of us don't want to go to jail. We have too much we've worked for.
I'm allergic to it. I'm allergic to it.
Well, we don't want to lose our lives and our livelihoods and everything else that we've built. So, we are resistant to commit these heinous crimes. I'm sure we've all been angry and we've done dumb things or
angry and sin
out. Lots of times where I've been in over the last 20 years where I've this close to an altercation. It's like, is this guy, if I beat him up, is this guy worth going to jail over? It's like, no, it's not. So the problem is a lack of consequences that deter criminal activity. And these criminals that are used to going in and out of jail, they're like, you know what? I'm going to kill this guy.
Hey, I'll be back next Tuesday.
Yeah. I'm going to be out in a couple of weeks, months, or maybe even a couple of years. The fact is that our prison sentences and our justice system is not protecting Americans. They're protecting the criminals. And that's
Absolutely.
where we're at. Imagine if these protesters used that energy to find 300,000 children that the Biden administration lost track of.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing. I would like more information on it as well. Nice distraction from the corruption yes, it is. This is exactly.
Somebody else mentioned that too. Yeah.
I don't know if it's just that, but
it seems pretty well orchestrated.
At a minimum, that's a side benefit of what's going on for sure.
Yeah.
They always want to say we're protecting a PDF Trump. They accuse one man of being one while they're fighting for thousands of actual pedophiles that are here illegally. Agreed.
Wow.
That is
great catch.
They want to throw that PDF word out at every Republican ever. And then, but yet they are literally letting these PDF folks out on the streets day after day, and the left has no problems with that whatsoever. Yep, more 2A cosplay justifying murder. I agree. Trump should tell all the illegals that he will give them citizenship if they vote Republican. See how fast Democrats want them out of our country.
Oh my gosh. And you know the bad thing is Trump is a troll of that proportion, because you can't spell troll without TR. I could actually see him doing that and just put it out on Truth Social and just let them go lose their minds the whole, do it on Friday evening and let them lose their mind the whole weekend and be like, oh, my bad, I was just kidding on Monday, like, or whatever. Like, I could see, oh man.
Assuming the first shot in this Minneapolis case was commanded, was it legally justified and why? So first of all, he's trying to get a gun out. If it was commanded, and just so that we understand, if he had his finger on the trigger and he had a negligent discharge, was it legally justified and why? Look, it really doesn't change anything for me. What I'm saying, I think ultimately this is legally justified because of the totality of the circumstances.
Right.
Again, if this was just one incident, an isolated incident, and there wasn't all these other things going on, I would have a different take on this. So that's where I'm with that.
Shout out.
DJ Carenti gifted 5 Paramount Tactical memberships, but
shout out.
Also gifted.
Oh, there we go.
Podcast memberships as well. Thank you.
He fell in the church. There we go.
DJ, I will get that voiceover so we can get a new intro in. Cops and ICE agents are doing the jobs we told them to do. If you want to go protest, go to the home of our reps, go to Congress, go bother your senators. Do not argue with our cops. I think that is perfectly said. They should be at your state capitol. They should be at state and local government buildings, and we should be pushing the politicians to change the law, because that's who has the
power to do it. Yeah.
Going there and interfering with cops and law enforcement is never a good idea. Gary and Jason, do you guys think that possibly there's something in the water in Minnesota?
I like how you said possibly, as if it isn't something in the water. No, it is something in the water.
Yeah. I saw a stat that showed there's been birthright citizenship granted to 1 million Chinese. They will soon be voters. Look, this is one of the... Look, we can't take our eyes off China. The phrase color revolution has been being thrown around a lot in many different ways, but the Chinese want a color revolution here in the United States. And that is just a unviolent revolution. They're taking our intellectual property. They're beating us in just about every category. I think, and there seems to be, I hear a lot of people like, oh no, China is a paper tiger. They're not as powerful.
Okay.
I think people are way underestimating the Chinese. I also think people are way underestimating the many facets that Chinese are undermining the United States in so many different ways, economically, through immigration like this. And these are folks that are coming in that are not assimilating. They are Chinese through and through. And we have the same thing with many other countries. Look, these people are not coming to America to become Americans. They're coming to America to occupy America. And we also see that on the Islam front. Islam is a huge threat to the United States, and we can look at what's going on in Dearborn and many other countries. We can look at what's going on in Minneapolis with the community there. Look, we have some real problems, and they seem unrelated,
but they are.
They're not. All right. At a minimum, they're all attacks, and we can only hold those off for so long before it starts really doing real damage.
I agree.
100% agree. I'm a legal immigrant veteran and had to take the test and fulfill all requirements to become a citizen. I'm proud of ICE. And this is the thing that I hear time and time again.
Absolutely. Shout out.
Got a lot of different immigrant legal immigrant friends, and they are, number one, everyone that I know is a Trump supporter, and every single one of them have this disdain for illegal immigrants because they had to go through the process legally, which is expensive, it's time consuming, it takes a long time. They have to put a lot of work into it. It's resource intensive. Oh, that was, hold on, I'll get through these, and I want to kind of hit you up again on that. What do you think the criteria should be for people coming into our country? I know we hit birthright citizenship, but I want to flush that out.
Okay. Oh, I'm ready.
Birthright citizenship is totally abused. They are complete cottage industries in the islands in the U.S. territories that are facing thousands of birth a year, Chinese and other communist countries. Agreed. Continue Freedom YouTube would be nice. Add to the group. Continue Freedom YouTube. I don't know who that is. Let's check them out. I don't buy the 320 had a uncommanded discharge, and I've been very critical of SIG. Better chance of winning the lottery than a UD at the place and time. It's funny watching people who never said a word of 320 jump on the narrative, though. Yeah, so I was quite convinced that it was not going to be an uncommanded discharge. And then I saw footage where it definitely does not look like that his finger is on the trigger. It's hard to tell, but it looks pretty conclusive that his finger's not on the trigger. You can see him gripping the grip of the gun like this. And again, we see the trigger guard above there. Could be wrong. Maybe his finger's on the other side and I can't see it. I don't know, but it doesn't look like his finger's on the trigger.
Okay.
So you could be right, Matt.
Okay. And
go ahead.
And not to take from Matt at all, but please, let's not forget all the different forks in the road that they took to get to that place where you got 6-7 officers around you trying to disarm you. Yep. Like, can we talk about that with honesty and say, whether it was you said SIG is known to, misfire.
Yeah, the 320 will basically go off without a finger
on its own. Yeah. But how about we just talk about the fact that you were there you're pushing an officer with a gun in your belt.
Yeah.
Like, can we talk about that first before we get to who's responsible? Because again, we're making it sound like, and we're definitely I am armchair quarterbacking because I don't know all the ins and outs. I know I'm just riding your coattails and your knowledge, and I don't want anybody to ask me no questions. But I can tell you this though, I've been in situations that are completely chaotic. And if you rewind the tape, somebody could have made a different decision. That man didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
He didn't have to.
And look,
and therein is the problem. That's my only pushback.
I will say that it is more unfortunate if he had an ND, a negligent discharge, meaning he commanded that gun to go off whether he realized it or not. But under the chaos of the situation, my analysis would still be the same. Like, ultimately, if I'm the one doing an investigation, I'm gonna take everything that we talked about into consideration and say, look, I'm not prosecuting these guys, or we're not even giving them any sort of punitive action taken against these guys whatsoever. That's where I would be on this, and I'm sure there's lots of people disagree, and that's fine.
Yeah. All right. Did you want me to talk about this?
I think we got like 4 or 5 more of these. We'll try to clear these and then kind of restart the conversation between you and I. Jay Wood, I heard you got chunky peanut butter. What the hell is wrong with you? I like chunky peanut butter too.
I wanted to try some peanut butter because I said I'm going to try this, what's this, French toast with peanut butter when I hit 100,000 subscribers. So I said, we're going to be locked in the house for a couple of days. Why not buy some peanut butter? I haven't bought peanut butter in years, and I totally forgot about chunky peanut butter. So I bought the peanut butter, and I told my wife, hey, babe, you want me to make you a peanut butter sandwich? I'm opening the thing up. I'm like, oh, my God. I mean, it's got all these obstacles, like landmine peanut butter. Like, what the heck? What in the world's wrong with you people? So it was I already got it.
Look, if
it's already ruined my jaw.
If you're going to buy peanut butter, hopefully you bought the natural peanut butter. Don't buy the peanut butter with a bunch of hydrogenated soybean oils or all the other stuff. So. Super bad for you. And I'll tell you, folks, I'm a big fan. I love peanut butter, but what I love even more is almond butter. I love almond butter on just about anything. I might even like almond butter butter better.
Almond butter is fantastic.
On French toast. I might have to try that too. We might try to split that French toast in half and do half and half.
You know what? I will do it. Give me my 100,000 subscribers. I'm doing the French toast. I'm doing a live stream eating French toast with peanut butter, and I'll do almond butter. Absolutely. I'll do
it. Giselle, I'm going to assume that's how you pronounce that. Says, thank you for discussing this important issue. I agree. It is an important issue. The free state of Florida has passed legislation that allows a death penalty for adults found guilty of raping children under the age of 12. Now we shall see if it passes the Supreme Court. Yeah.
I'm right there with it. Yeah. It shouldn't take that. I mean, it should have been logical common sense. That I agree with him. They'll never have to worry about owning a gun again.
The other thing when it comes to the death penalty, and now this is off on a tangent, but like once we've exhausted all the options for the person, because I am aware that there are people that have been put on death row that come to find out later on through DNA evidence or whatever else that they were not guilty of that crime. That is a real problem. But depending on the circumstances of what's going on there and how definitive the proof is, once they're put on death row, they shouldn't be on death row for 15, 20 years where taxpayers are paying.
Right. That's the problem.
All right. Now, look, I'm a judge, man. This evidence is very clear. Like, we're going to put you in the express line. So, I don't know, by noon tomorrow, make sure you have whatever.
Wow. You said noon tomorrow. Wow.
Noon tomorrow, man. Noon tomorrow.
Wow. Gary's not playing. Okay, fine.
High noon. We're doing it. Read The Invisible Coup, How American Elites and Foreign Powers Use Immigration as a Weapon by Peter Schweitzer. Excellent breakdown of cottage birthright citizenship issues. Okay. I will read that. That is interesting. What we don't see in the video is that the officers perceive the threat to be. They're allowed to shoot if they perceive an imminent threat. That is exactly right. We're not inside the minds of those officers. We don't know what they've been going through. We don't know what their mindset is and what they see or perceive at the time. And that's the real problem when we have, whether we're looking at Renee Good incident or any other these use of force incidents where people, protest or have issues with, is you've never been in that situation. You've never had what you felt like was your life on the line. And look, there are definitely incidences out there where I think some better training should be taking place. The fact is like law enforcement gets crap for training. I've been in this industry for a really long time. And I'm telling you right now, especially the average law enforcement at the local PD, everything else, federal law enforcement, I will tell you, Border Patrol specifically are some of the most well-trained law enforcement officers on the face of the planet. But your local law enforcement, they don't get nearly enough range time. They don't get nearly enough instruction. They don't get nearly enough use of force training, shoot, no shoot training, scenario-based training. They rarely get any of that, if they ever get it, by the way. Wow. So I think that is a real problem here in the United States, is we're not investing enough in officer training, period. All right. So back to you. That was all the super chats that we had at the moment.
Okay.
Immigration criteria. What should it be? If Jay Witt is the despotic, tyrannical dictator of the United States,
okay,
what are you saying? Hey, to get in here, this is what you got to be. What you
got to do. Can I go on a slight rabbit trail?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. All right. I've been watching a lot of commentary about the new Star Trek movie called Starfleet Academy. And
I got to be honest with you.
That thing is a mess.
I didn't go down this rabbit trail.
No, I'm going to go.
I didn't think it was going to include Star Trek, but I'm so glad it does.
I'm here for y'all, man. I'm here for you. If you follow me, I've been wanting to rant about this for probably about 3 weeks. Anyway, one of the things about Star Trek, the old Trek, that most of us grew up on, was that, sure, they had diversity, but they had merit in that. Uhura was not just a black chick running communication. Sulu was not just an ensign because he was Asian, or Chekhov, or Scotty, fill in the blank, Spock. They were the very best that Starfleet could get in those positions. They were the best.
And they
now, of course, and it just so happened to be whatever Klingon or Vulcan, fill in the blank.
Species.
But But now here in Starfleet Academy, there's absolutely no merit whatsoever. There is no standard. There is no standard. And we see it. It's just running amok. They're out of shape. They're neurodivergent. They got alphabet mafia going crazy, all that kind of stuff like that. So now you're like, Jason, where in the heck are you going? I think we need to, part of immigration needs to be, are you adding value to the USS United States enterprise? Are you adding value to it? We don't just need you to be here just because you want to suck up on Social Security, or you heard we got really good health care or whatever. No, are you adding value to America? Are you adding value to us? And because we're going to add value to you, we're going to give you the best that we have. And you know that because that's why you're fighting to get in here. Yep. So part of if I were able to make that decision, we really want to make sure that you're adding value to, and maybe make sure there's a balance. So if we have some people that are not adding value, we're giving out some consolation prize citizenships, then we also got to make sure we're giving out the very best that's coming in. And of course, they're going through the proper steps to become American, no longer citizens of the former country that they are from. I'm looking at you, Somalia. They should not be saying, I'm a Somalian first, but I'm in Congress. I'm a Somalian first, but I'm a mayor. No, you are American, period. And if that doesn't work, then we need to try something different. So that would be if I could, I would say we need to look at, are they adding value to the United States? Because again, just this open door to everybody comes in, so you can run to the Social Security office, you can run to the WIC office and SNAP and all that kind of stuff. That's timeout. That's over with. So that would be it.
No, I completely agree. And number one, if you're coming to this country, you need to have X amount of dollars in the bank so that you can fund your lifestyle. Like it should be a rigorous process to become part of the best country to ever exist. And by the way, you should have, even if you can get your citizenship in 5 years, should be another 5 or 10 year probation period where if you find yourself on welfare or whatever else, I think it should be revoked. Like that shouldn't even be an option for a non-US citizen. And if you're not adding value, like you said, and if there should be no chance. Looking at this, I should be able to look at your status and be like, you know what? There's pretty much no chance that this guy, this person, this woman, whoever, this family would ever be a liability to the United States and be taking from the system as opposed to giving to the system. They're opening a business. They have, number one, they have an established life already. They're bringing value to the United States. I see that they're going to start a business or they're working for this company. Whatever's going on, like that should be part of the process. And anything less than that, like hit the door, Jack. And we should limit that to like a couple of thousand per year, by the way. Like we have too many people here in the United States as it is. And we need to, and that's another thing. We should put all immigration on hold until we get down the number of these illegal immigrants. That's my biggest issue with the Trump administration right now, is that they're not being more aggressive on this. I did the math at some point. I think if we went with like 20 million Americans, if we said there was 20 million illegal immigrants, he has 4 years and we're down to 3 now. Like just to get to 20 million in that time period should be like 13,000 people being extricated from the United States per day. All right. We're not hitting that. We're nowhere close to that. So we got to get those rookie numbers up, and we need to start getting people out of here much, much faster. There's a couple of comments that I want to hit, and these are kind of go together and they're within view here. So I want to hit this. Always an excuse when cops do this, civilians are never granted the same grace. Yeah, there is a lot of times that cops are giving a little bit of extra because of the dangerous work that they do and the things they experience and their mindset and everything else that goes along with that. I think there are actually we don't hear about it. That's part of the problem with this. There is an intent behind media where they don't publish stories where U.S. citizens that are carrying guns have protected themselves. Like that is intentionally omitted. There was a long time that when I was just on Facebook, when we first started the company, one of the things I tried to do is I try to find an article every single day where it was guns save lives. And I would post an article about, citizens defending their home, defending themselves on public. Like there have been mass shootings that have stopped by citizens on citizens. There have been like hundreds of thousands of people a year are still alive because citizens carry weapons. And by the way, the vast majority of those people are not prosecuted in any way. So I disagree with that. The problem is like we don't even know the numbers because that's hidden from us intentionally, because they don't want you to know how effective it is for Americans to actually carry guns and how often guns actually are positive and save lives and stop people from being murdered, victimized, and everything else. There is intent behind that. And right down here, within the striking distance of one another, Billy Box says, I got some empathy though. Sad for lost lives. I agree. Watching that unfold, I feel nothing but sympathy and empathy. I think it's super sad that that guy lost his life. Looks like he's fairly young. I think I saw he's like in his mid 30s or late 30s. Either way, it shouldn't have happened. I'm very sympathetic toward that, and I'm sad that it did happen. And I think that a lot of the politicians there in Minnesota, and by the way, police chiefs, sheriffs, all of those people should be held accountable for this because they're not doing their jobs. If they were doing their jobs, this wouldn't be taking place.
Very good point. And yeah, you're on the money. I'm not going to even add anything to it.
Perfect. We got a few more super chats up here.
Get them. Shout out to the supers.
We already saw that.
Yeah, that's perceived threat.
My great grandfather came to Ellis Island. No job, no family, skills, and no money. He was spun around back to Sicily. Came back with family, trade, and job. And yeah, look, that sucked for him that first time, right? But guess what? He went and established himself. He came back with some skills, came back with some money, and now, he's ready to contribute to the American society. And look, life was different back then too. Like we didn't have all these social, safety nets that we have today that you can just arrive here, do nothing, and be fed, be housed. You get free health care,
education.
You can live a better life doing nothing, producing nothing here in the United States than a lot of people in the lower to mid class. They work themselves to death trying to achieve. They don't have free housing. They have to pay for their food. A lot of these people are just outside of that poverty level. They're paying hundreds, a lot of times thousands of dollars per month for health care, while somebody can just sit there, lay on the couch, eat Cheetos all day and do nothing. And they get free housing, free food, free health care. And it's a real shame. It's a real problem here in the United States.
I think people can do better living here in the United States doing nothing than working in the country that they probably came from. That's crazy work. Yeah. That's crazy.
And by the way, they can do the same thing in the United States. They can live better than going out and finding a job and have to climb that ladder and go through all the hardships that all of us went through that we thought was just normal at one time. Like, it's crazy to me that these kids, one of the problems that we've had is like finding additional employees and help. And we'll have like 16, 17, well, I'm sorry, 18, only 18 and older but 18-year-old kids that have done nothing in their life. And they come in and we're like, hey, we're going to pay you X amount of dollars an hour. Like way more than minimum wage for a very easy job. I'm like, no, I won't take anything less than 20. Like, bro, you know how old I was and how long I'd worked before I made 20 bucks an hour? And I know money's changed a little bit, but still, like the idea that you want to come into your first job and you want to make 20 bucks an hour, like go somewhere, because you are overvaluing your skill sets and what you bring to the table for sure. And I don't need you. That means you're not willing to learn. That means you have no humility whatsoever. And it's a problem. And it's a problem as far as someone that is going to be paying you to work and represent us. Matt K. Actual, I'm a Zionist. My God, a Zionist. Just joking.
Oh, man.
I will say an interesting thing.
Antifa done jumped into the chat. They already jumped in. Oh, man. He just said the buzzword. Now they're here.
I saw working in immigration how Israeli Jewish families will fly into the U.S. just to have a baby and head home quickly after birthright citizenship. Look, there's a lot of people in other countries that do this, that plan those things out. It's not just Jewish. I don't know how pervasive it is within Jewish families. Maybe it's huge. I don't know. But just like we talked about, we know from Asian countries, they do that all the time. That is one of the things that they do. They'll actually get a visa. They intentionally get pregnant, or they come here pregnant, and then they will overstay or whatever else. It's all a strategy. And that's the problem too, is we have these anchor babies. Is once you have your foot in the door and you now an illegal immigrant that has a child here in the United States, now that opens up all kinds of opportunities where not only can you get your parents some sort of legal status, but extended family as well, which is absolutely crazy. And that's one of the things that we're seeing happen time and time again. Like, this is a problem that creates exponential other problems all the way down the line that we haven't addressed for, I don't know, at least 30, 40 years.
Right.
And now we're kind of at a tipping point, and it just has to be addressed one way or the other. And the only way to do that is exactly what Trump's doing, although I think he should be more aggressive about it. We need to be deporting people left and right. Side note, I worked ER ambulances where both became clinics, especially illegals. I heard where ICE is operating, ERs are slow. Just saying. Yeah. Those are true stories.
I appreciate it. What do we got here?
This one thing that's a bit screwed up with the system. Some people and friends I know can't afford health care, but if you're in prison, you go to the doctor and dentist, you get better care, I'm sure, than there, or whatever was going to be said. Look, folks, right now, as a small business owner, the cheapest policy that we could find for our family of four is $1,700 per month, with high copays and high deductibles and everything else. So right now, my family, we don't have healthcare. We've been paying everything with cash. I have healthcare through the VA system. That's another thing that's crazy about this. I can't buy a healthcare plan just for my 3 other members of my family. I have to buy a healthcare plan that includes me, even though I get all of my healthcare through the VA.
Through the VA.
This system is broken, and by the way, Obamacare broke it further, destroyed it, made sure it wouldn't work. And I showed some slides I brought up the other day, how much healthcare has exponentially increased in costs ever since Obamacare came into play. So I think that was intentional as well. I mean, it was easy to see. You could see what was going on with that and tell that
we saw the play was coming. We knew it was coming.
Paramount Tactical ? Other countries train police for 1 year, or like Israel, mandate military service after graduating. What are your thoughts? I don't know that it needs to be 1 year. Here's what I think. I think we need to have probably a little bit more extensive standardized training for all law enforcement. The problem is that training standards from state to state, city to city, are vastly different. And then on top of that, they're not getting sustainment training that they need. So I don't care if you can go train for 3 years, be a 3-year training program, and then you come out, and then if you don't go to training again in the next 20, like, there's no point in it. I don't care if it's a 6-week program or 10-week or whatever they are. You can have a fairly good standard of training done fairly shortly, and understand, like, law enforcement, they're learning, case law, they're learning a lot of things other than just basic tactics. Like, tactics and firearms are actually a very small portion of it. But they need sustainment training. And a lot of these local PDs and stuff, they have no budget for ammunition for training at the range. They need to be hiring instructors that are really good at what they do and can coach people and continue to improve their abilities to handle a firearm. And then just being able to shoot doesn't get you anywhere. Like, you got to be able to implement tactics, techniques, and procedures that give you a tactical advantage for every situation. You got to learn to be able to think while you're shooting. And most people don't. Once this thing starts operating, this thing turns off. And this is one of the things that we implement through all of our training. We have scenario-based training. We have decision-based training. Like, we force our students to think and to problem solve, and not just, oh, there's a target, I need to shoot it. That's what keeps people alive, is being able to move, shoot, and communicate, right? You got to be able to think what's going on. And tactics are the key to that. And the only way that you can get proficient at tactics if you're putting all of that mental resource into problem solving here, you need to be able to shoot at a level to where you no longer need to think about it. If you're that guy that's thinking, all right, body position, sight alignment, sight picture, breathing, trigger squeeze, and follow through, if you're having to think through that, you can't implement tactics. So we need to get to a point to where all those things, the shooting portion of that is second nature, so that you have the mental bandwidth to problem solve, to be able to seek cover, to be able to look at what is beyond your target, make sure that you're not killing people that don't need killing,
Right.
and to be able to work smartly through a problem. And if that shooting portion isn't second nature and you have to think about that, then you can't do that. And that is the problem. And the only way to be able to do that is through regular sustainment training. I mean, this should be, quarterly, some sort of refresher, going to the range quarterly. I mean, a lot of cops don't even go to the range and qualify, but like once a year at most, a lot of these. So, I mean, training is a problem here in the United States for sure.
So I was looking at, and I've mentioned this before, I watch a lot of body cam footage. And I don't remember when, one day it hit me, the amount of resources that go into pulling somebody out of a car, or a sovereign citizen that's being a jerk. And one time I was looking, I was like, there was 9 officers standing around this person. Now, of course, they were there for good reason, because the person was being a complete and total butthole. But I'm like, wow, those are 9 officers. Now I hear what you're saying about training and such of that nature. Like, how many times has this been, multiply this by however many times a day, a week, a month? Those 9 officers maybe could have been getting trained better. They could have been working on some skills. I've seen some officers that can't break a glass window. They need to learn how to break a window, man. You need to learn to do that. So, like, just some basic training. So I think you're right. But how much of it, just the antics going on in the world, keeps them from being able to do that? Because you got to send 9 people to pull a drunk driver out of their car.
Yeah.
Or I've seen some really gross ones.
People don't understand that either. It's like, oh my God, there's 9 people there, and there's only one person. Like, a person barricaded within the car can be a real problem. I promise it's going to take every bit of 8 or 9. If I really didn't want to come out of a car and I really wanted to resist, you need to bring the whole PD, because you're not going to get me out of the car. And that's what somebody was training and is, physically capable and things like that. But still, like, these problems are extremely hard. They're extremely stressful. You don't know what's in that car. And people need to have a little bit more sympathy and empathy for law enforcement. It is a shame when things go awry, but you also have to look, like, these law enforcement. I've said this ever since going back to like 2020. Like, you almost have to be a fool to go sign up to be a law enforcement. I don't care if you're talking about state, local, federal. The amount of the juice ain't worth the squeeze, folks. Like it's amazing that we still have people wearing a badge, because they don't make shit. It's a thankless job, and something can go wrong. Either you get killed, or you get sued, or you go to prison for a mistake that isn't your fault. That, yeah, you made a bad call under stress, and things happen, or you did everything right, but a prosecuting attorney convinces the jury that you did it wrong. So, like, we need to treat these guys better. We need to train and equip these guys better. Somebody mentioned this. What I will say, in most federal agencies, and again, I used to teach diplomatic security, so we taught them room tactics. We taught them defensive tactics, which is basically hand-to-hand, weapons retention. Like, these are all things that should be standard, but most local law enforcement, state local law enforcement, do not get. Federal law enforcement, because they have unlimited federal tax dollars pretty much, they can justify some of this training, and they do get more advanced training as you go up in tiers into some of the SRTs, especially federal or well-funded state and local. If you get into like LA, like, a lot of these guys are extremely proficient in hand-to-hand. They take jiu-jitsu, they take boxing, they take Muay Thai. They're very good at defensive tactics, weapon retention tactics. They're getting regular training, but that is rare. And you're absolutely right. They need to be able to control subjects and to do it efficiently. And I do know, like, a lot of the local cops around here, both in Winchester, Martinsburg, and the sheriff's department as well, a lot of the guys are taking Brazilian jiu-jitsu,
Mm-hmm.
or other forms of martial arts, so that they can actually efficiently control a subject. But most people don't have that training. They've been taught one technique that wasn't really good to begin with, doesn't work under most circumstances. It works when you're laying there in a mat room and you have a compliant subject that's your buddy.
Right.
All right, let me get you cuffed up. Oh, there's my arm. Oh, you got it. Like, no, when you really want to resist, and most law enforcement never get those opportunities, unfortunately.
No, I agree. Is there any more?
I don't like speeding tickets. They can stop that.
You know what? They do. You know what? They do stop speeding tickets when you stop speeding.
They're going, well, that's true.
Right. If you don't speed, guess what? You don't get speeding tickets. I know this by experience. If you don't speed, they don't send you speeding tickets. You don't get them.
Yeah, look, I do have some issues of the revenue-based law enforcement that we have in this country.
Oh,
I think we could do better on, right? When the priority is catching speeders to raise revenue, I think that's a problem. I don't know, and some of that stuff
season cash
is nuanced.
Season cash.
I have look at folks. I spend many nights going down the First Amendment auditor rabbit holes, and I have a real problem. And there's some of you may have seen his stuff. He's here in West Virginia, the civil rights attorney. He has a huge YouTube channel. I think 5-6 million subscribers. But a lot of people send him these videos where the cops are just out of control. They're ego driven, and there's these people in every industry, and it's really unfortunate when you give them a badge and a gun and some authority, and they take advantage of it. And there are law enforcement officers out there, and I think it's like 1%, right? It's a very small amount that are going to abuse people when they can, and they're going to violate their civil liberties. And I have a real problem with that. I think as a law enforcement, if it's been proven that you've done that, you should get twice the sentence. We as the American people have given you the trust and responsibility to hand you a badge and a gun. And just like some people said, you get special treatment as law enforcement. You have immunities that most people aren't going to have. And with that trust comes a lot of responsibility. And if you violate that trust, the other thing, if we find corrupt cops, they should get some sort of special sentencing that is above and beyond what the normal person should get. So I have problems with some of those things. I have problems with some of the questioning techniques. I have problems with law enforcement techniques that are attempting to trick people into violating their civil liberties. You as law enforcement have sworn to protect and defend the United States Constitution, and that you should be protecting citizens' constitutional rights as well. And I understand that there is a balance. There's a nuanced balance between fighting crime and protecting citizens' rights. And I think we got to be very careful. And I don't think we've hit the right spot yet. I think we've gotten better over the years. I think law enforcement is much more reserved than they were in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, where they just rip out your car and whoop your ass.
For sure.
I don't think we've figured out that balance perfectly. I think we've gotten a lot better, and I think we still have some work to do. But that being said, the vast majority of law enforcement, they are overworked, underpaid. The risks that they face every single day, they're real heroes amongst the American people. And yeah, there's some bad apples out there, and they should be dealt with. But what's going on in Minnesota is not a protest. It is obstruction, and
it's insurrection.
It is an insurrection through and through. That's a real insurrection, and it's being driven by the top leaders and the top political leaders within that state, and they need to be held accountable, as well as police chiefs, sheriffs, everybody involved. The fact that they are allowing these things to happen, and they want that to happen, and that's the real secret behind this. These politicians and the people that are back there organizing all this stuff behind the scenes and encouraging people to go out there with their kids, encouraging to put themselves, literally, there's been all kinds of propaganda saying you got to put your body on the line. That's they want these martyrs so that they can justify rioting, looting, causing chaos. It's anarchy. It's everything that is antithetical to being an American citizen is, and we need to address it and identify it for what it is, and that is, it's evil, really is.
I agree.
And it's all leftist, communist nonsense. That's what it's about. It's about overthrowing this government and convincing you to vote away this country, and convincing dumb, ignorant people to vote away their civil liberties and their, like, America is the best system. There's lots of problems with capitalism, but the problem is there's nothing that's better than capitalism. Socialism doesn't fix anything. It just makes it worse. Communism is even worse. Like, that's what we have to realize. Guys, why is our honorable president taking it midterms? I don't know what you mean exactly by that question.
I think she means maybe he's not doing enough. If I'm understanding, maybe that might be what she's saying. Maybe why is he not doing more?
I think she's
I don't know.
asking, what do you think the midterms are going to, I don't know. Deb Longo, clarify that question. I like this comment. This is a great one. Sorry, Will. Honestly, Gary, the standards for LEOs are so wide ranging that it's hard to back every department. I agree with that. From weight to integrity to intelligence, is all over. We need standards for that field. I agree with that. I think they should be paid more. They should be equipped better. They should be trained better. And I think the standards should be higher. Same thing I feel about our military in general. So
that's funny.
I agree with that. And the other thing is culture within the department. There are lots of departments that I've seen this. Training different LEOs and things like that. I hear some of the comments and stuff that some are making that I'm appalled by the way that they treat citizens. And I've had, LEOs tell me, there was a guy that worked for me one time. He's a former LEO. He's like, yeah, man, if I was having a bad day and you want to smart off, guess what? You're going to jail. You may beat the rap. I'm sure you will, but guess what? You're going to spend the night in jail either way. So, yeah, you need to straighten up your attitude, show me a little respect. And, this is one of those guys that was ego driven, and I ended up firing him later on down the road anyhow. But, there's guys like that out there.
Yeah.
Isn't second about being able to carry? Yes, the second is all about being able to carry. I don't think we should ever have to have a permit. We have a permit. It's called the Second Amendment. Look, here's how I feel about this. There should be no there should be nothing that gets in the way of, if you are a non-criminal, right? And just going with the laws how they are. If you're not a felon, there should be no barrier in entry to be able to get a firearm and to be able to carry that firearm.
Right.
That being said, so I don't believe any sort of training standards. Like, you shouldn't have to go train before you can carry a firearm. That being said, I think it'd be super irresponsible not to get training first, so that you're competent with that weapon. You're confident with that weapon. You understand how to use it correctly. Like, that should be common sense. With that being said, I don't think there should be any sort of barrier to entry, in the same way that there's no barrier to go vote. As long as you're old enough and you meet certain criteria, and you should be able to go vote. And you got to have an ID. You should have to have an ID, but a lot of states, you don't have to have an ID. As a matter of fact, there's some states that it's against the law to even ask for an ID to go vote.
Right.
So, I hate the fact that the Second Amendment is treated like a second-class right. It's not. All of the same things that people believe, how all of our other rights within the Bill of Rights and within our Constitution, all the protections that you get, they're like, oh, you got to protect the First Amendment. You got to do this. You got to do this. You got the Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment. Guess what? All the same things apply to the Second Amendment, but for some reason, people have been conditioned to believe otherwise.
That is correct.
And this is, we'll get you banned. We're just going to ban this guy.
Got to go.
Queen by Wilcox 982 says Louisiana is as bad as Arizona. I know ruling elite there as well. Worked for Senator J.B. Johnson in the 80s. His son is a lobbyist here, and daughter's husband, ambassador to India. Republicans who won Louisiana are no better. Yeah, so I lived in Beaumont, Texas for a really long time, and I will say, and this is in the
Mm-hmm.
90s, political corruption in Louisiana was well known, or at least well talked about. I wasn't politically active at the time, but I heard it talked about all the time, and I do believe that. Even like sheriffs and things like that within Louisiana, it was known to be a very corrupt state. And I'm sure there's some truth to that. What else we got going on, Jay? I think we covered a lot of ground there. Folks, if you have any final super chats or anything like that, get them. We're going to bring to a close here.
We're going to, maybe we'll do a body cam night. We'll just watch some body cam.
I love that.
Crack jokes.
Maybe we'll find a.
I have a whole playlist. I'll send you the playlist.
Oh, okay.
We can just sit around and just, I'm already preparing for it. No, but Gary, thank you, man. I'm glad that you had a good time out there in Vegas. I'm glad you made it back safe. And this was a good conversation. I do hope that cooler heads, I've been praying that they have a blizzard in Minnesota, that they just, 45 feet of snow, like just stop them. Like just, they need to cool down. They need to cool down significantly. And that might mean ICE and the protesters and just general commerce. Just everybody stay in your house, chill out for a minute, cooler heads prevail, and then let it thaw. But no, this was a good conversation. Hopefully everybody had a good time.
Yeah, no, and I know a lot of, oh, I missed a comment. Folks, if I ever missed one of your super chat comments, I promise you it's not intentional. You can always email me and I'll address it the next time. Amethyst Angel said martial arts foundations are mental tactics. In my opinion, I couldn't agree more.
No argument for me.
You learn whether it's boxing, whether it's jiu-jitsu, karate, whatever it is. Learning to be able to analyze what's happening while it's happening and make good decisions. Like that's what it's all about. And that's one of the things I talk about in our firearms training. Like firearms training is a martial art. It really is. And if people looked at it that way, I think they take it a little bit more seriously. They're like, oh, I can stand here. If I just stand here stationary and I can shoot a stationary target and I hit it 10 out of 10 times, I'm really good at this. No, that's not how the real world works. Start throwing some different dynamics in place. You're moving, the threat's moving. It's presenting. You have shoot targets, no shoot targets. You have to consider about what's your target, what's beyond it. Like there's a lot going on, and everybody that thinks they are really good at shooting, you put them in shoot, no shoot scenarios. And it's hilarious. Not hilarious. It's scary to see.
Yeah.
But it's good when they realize it. And that's one of the things we do. We usually do like culmination exercises at the end of our courses where they get to implement some of the things that we taught them. And they realize they're not usually as good as they thought they were. So anyways, the other thing too, Jake, I'm completely, let's talk about it one day a week or whatever it is. And
I love it.
Be kind of a loose schedule depending on, I know you're busy, I'm busy sometimes, but we can plan generally like a Tuesday or a Thursday or whatever it is. Friday, Sunday,
I like it.
We'll start.
We'll get dangerous wit.
Dangerous
Gary.
wit. I love it.
Dangerous wit. See, I did that.
I like that.
Like the idea that Tim Walz had the National Guard out serving donuts and coffee. That right there tells you just how unserious he took. Okay, even if you thought that the shooting of the gentleman by ICE agent was totally dirty, was just as dirty, it was a mafia hit, right? You had the National Guard serving coffee and donuts today. Like that shows you just how unserious Tim Walz treats this.
I agree.
So don't be mad at us when we side where Gary and I have landed in this discussion. When your own governor, and I'll just throw the mayor in there too, and the lieutenant governor are so unserious. I mean, they're playing with Legos at this point. They might as well just be playing games. And don't be mad at us. Okay, go ahead.
We still are yet to see if Walz was involved in all the fraud, and I think he was. I think we're finding that out as well. I think a lot more people were involved in that, going all the way up the political spectrum. And I'm curious where a lot of that money went. Well, we know like 50% of that money was going to Act Blue. And then through Act Blue, that money gets donated and it's going to campaigns and things like that to people like Governor Walz and other politicians. So there's a whole continuum of corruption that's taking place there. And I hope someone is investigating that. at a federal level. And, you know, if Tim Walz and other people are involved, I hope they're held accountable. But you're right. They're failing. They're failing their state and on
right.
every level for sure. Real quick, this last super chat. Correct me if I'm wrong. Doesn't state National Guard ultimately have to follow federal commands? So how can Camp on Tim threaten the feds with Minnesota State? I'm not 100% certain on this, but I think that's wrong outside of the Insurrection Act. Once that's implemented, then yes, they do have to follow federal command. The governor is the commander in chief of their National Guard, their state National Guard. So I think outside of certain circumstances and provisions, that is not true, actually. And which is why we had the National Guard in Arkansas back in the civil rights era, and in many other states that were trying to prevent, black school into white schools and integration that way, racial integration. So hopefully that answered your question. Jay Witt, thank you, buddy. Man,
thank you, man. This was a lot of fun, Gary.
Yep. I always enjoy talking to you. It's always a good conversation. Man. Folks, those of you out there, we appreciate you. And we appreciate you tuning in, your love and support for both of our channels. Again, if you're watching this now or in the future and you haven't subscribed to Jay Witt, go do that. We're going to get him to 100K. He deserves it. We're going to make it happen. And until next time, stay armed. Stay